Pakistani groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and the stuff written by Maududi is at that level. But generally in the West, in the United States, the lead element is the Arab Muslim Brotherhood, and as a practical matter, the two organizations are in sync. So that the Islamic Society in North America, which is Arab and Muslim Brotherhood, merged with something called the Islamic Circle in North America, which was basically more of Maududi. Do you know what I mean by Maududi?
Yeah.
Okay, Maududi and the Pakistani Indian Deobandi equivalent. So, go ahead. So here we have the Brotherhood's logo. We're going to look at this. Okay, this little phrase here. See it? What's that say?
Bereitet ihr für sie. Also das ist nur ein Codewort, geht zurück auf die eine Verse, also ein Vers im Koran, das sagt, bereitet für sie die größte Macht, also Macht, sie dann, ihnen eine
Yes, of course.
Furcht.
Bereitet ihnen die größte Furcht.
Genau.
Yeah, make them afraid, make them scared, make them afraid. Das ist das Gelbe.
Das Gelbe unten, ja.
Against them, make ready. Can you say that? Okay. So, go ahead. I think I forgot to take a slide out of here. So, here we take a look at this. OBTW, oh, by the way. Let's go. Go ahead. That is this, right? Go ahead. Against them, make ready. Remember we quoted General Malik at 860, verse 860? Against them, make ready your strength, the utmost of your power. Go ahead. That's right out of the Quran. Against them, make ready your strength, the utmost of your power, including seeds of war, to strike terror into the hearts of the enemies of Allah and your enemies and others besides who you do not know, but who Allah doth know. So, what does the Brotherhood say they are? They're the Dawah. They are the Dawah entity. Now, people in America like Robert Spencer says stealth jihad. That's not a doctrinal term. They consider themselves the Dawah entity. Now, what is it? There are three, I hope I got this right, three duties of Islam. To know what is right, to know what is wrong, according to Islamic law, Dawah, and jihad. So wherever you have jihad, you must have dawah. And wherever you have dawah, it's supposed to lead to jihad. Jihad is the preparation stage. It is euphemistically translated for you to read as trying to get people to convert. What's the word for that? Proselytizing.
Yeah.
They do proselytize in the dawah phase, but their real mission is to prepare by spreading the message to get things out. So, for example, they spent 10 years, the 10-year plan of action, to get you to understand we kill people who defame the Prophet. After the 10th year, they will say, you had notice, world, and now we have a right to kill you. And guess what? Although everybody on TV will say, we don't know what this is about, every Austrian, every American person, the average, they know exactly why that person gets killed. They know like their life depends on it. And that's when you get to the point where you realize your leaders are on a narrative that causes their public to lose confidence in them. There you have it, delegitimization. The very act of working with them delegitimizes them in the eyes of the people they represent.
Is the Brotherhood not called the Ikhwan?
Ikhwan al-Muslimin, yes.
Ikhwan al-Muslim.
Yes, and it's important to know that. I have pictures of me in front of the Ikhwan building in Cairo last year. So, go ahead. Just so you know, they were all found guilty of all 108 charges. Guilty, 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 guilty. There was supposed to be a series of other trials after it because they had boxes of information. And what happened is a change of administration. The administration they locked away all the boxes of evidence and they stopped prosecution. And one of the biggest arguments we have in America is you need to release those documents and these people need to be prosecuted. Go ahead.
Steve?
Yes.
Change of administration. I think you should explain.
Oh, I'm sorry. Change of administration. President Bush left. President Obama came in. So at the back of this document was their list of who their people were. So this is in America, and I would challenge you, you can find an exact European equivalent. Because we yesterday quoted Yusuf al-Qawadari's European
Council and Research. Council for Fatwa and Research.
Council for Fatwa Research, where they said it is licit to kill and you can put someone to death in Europe for apostatizing from Islam. Came out yesterday. So here's the list of who these players are. Go ahead. And here you have, in America, Islamic Society in North America. And then here you have the Muslim Student Association. Well, the Muslim Student Association was the first organization. Yes? Oh, the Muslim Student Association was the first organization because they came over as students. Morsi, President Morsi, we have pretty good information, joined the Muslim Brotherhood at the MSA at the University of Southern California.
Wow.
Oh, we have some of the best players in the Brotherhood and in Al-Qaeda were educated in the West.
They're using our facilities to gain strength.
Well, we'll get to that. Okay. Now, ISNA, Islamic Society in North America, runs off a book written by Yusuf al-Qahdari called Islamic Societies in Non-Muslim Countries, written by Yusuf Qahdari. Qahdari is the head of the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, you'll have someone tell you who the Grand Masul is, that's great, but in Islamic culture, the jurist, the senior jurist is the person really in charge. And Yusuf al-Qahdari has been the senior jurist of the Brotherhood for a very long time. Now, he wears the cropped off Santa hat. Do you ever see Muslims, imams who wear a cap with a little red on top? Looks like it's a cut off Santa hat, Santa Claus hat. That hat can only be worn by graduates of Al-Azhar. Okay? It is super important to understand that Al-Azhar is the most prestigious and most elite school of Islamic learning in the world. Okay? Why? Because it's the Princeton, Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, Stanford, Sorbonne, Cambridge, rolled into one for them. So much so that if you are an imam from Al-Azhar, you are in the top 1%. You get to wear that hat because no matter where you are in the world, people will defer to you. Okay? Now, I'm sure you can find exceptions, but that is the rule. So why is this important? There are all sorts of red-capped men from the Brotherhood. The founder of Al-Qaeda, Abdul Azam, was an Al-Azhar grad. So when you say they have taken Islam out of context, and they can show that they get their people from what would be the equivalent of Vatican seminaries, you can't just say that without showing it's true. And here's the thing, you can't show it's true. The reason Egypt is in a civil war over how they want to shut this down is because Sisi gave a speech a couple of months ago where he told the imams at Al-Azhar, you have to change how you understand those scriptures. Yeah. But the West reported it this way. Sisi attacks radical imams. He did not attack radical imams. He attacked the imams he told the imams at Al-Azhar. Meaning, what you're calling radical, the Brotherhood can't lose in a theological debate with other imams. They can tie them, some good ones, but the fact of the matter is, this is what it says. And you pick the century, and you'll find a book written on it by Islamic authorities, and they'll verify it. You'll see it's there. So what you find is, Islamic societies, how do you know a mosque is Muslim Brotherhood in America, in the West? I'm going to give you, because I'm certain there's a term that matches this in German. If it says the Islamic Society or Islamic Center of anything, if the word Islamic Society is anywhere in the title, okay, it's a Brotherhood mosque. Now, once you find that, don't say, hey, that's a Brotherhood mosque. Do a little research to verify that in your own mind. But the thing of it is, then you can find books by Yusuf Qahdari, who lives in Qatar right now, because he's down in Egypt, where they're writing these books saying it. You'll find that there are archives of all these documents coming from the mothership. So here you have ISNA Fiqh Committee. Well, the ISNA Fiqh Committee was changed their name, and now they're the Fiqh Council of North America. They're the people who do Islamic law. The Islamic Association for Palestine was shut down as a Hamas front group, so they just changed their name to Council on American Islamic Relations. You have the Islamic Circle of North America, right there, and of course, the IIIT, the International Institute of Islamic Thought. Now, I would advise that some people here buy some of these IIIT books, because it's pretty clear that's their thought center. Just like the European what's it called?
The Council for Fatwa and Research.
The European Council of Fatwa Research is kind of the mothership that it cascades over the United States. The triple IT tends to be their theoretical thinkers, so that you could see that it will cascade down here. And if you look far enough where it's important, if they only have German-speaking imams, you'll find their more important works are probably translated into German. So, because remember, they are coming from one place, and they don't want to repeat things over and over again, because they want to put their imams where they want to. And now here's an interesting thing, whether it's Hilliard, Ohio, or whether it's New York City, you find that the imams that come over from Egypt, for example, are Al-Azhar grads. So this is their A team they're bringing into the West. They're not bringing in, semi-trained, semi-literate. We want to, oh, look, he's saying he must be half-trained and semi-literate. We're finding that at the top of the Brotherhood, at the top of the Al-Qaeda, these people come from elite families. Ayman al-Zawahiri, now the leader of Al-Qaeda, his father was, his grand uncle was the rector of Al-Azhar. These people do not, he was a medical doctor. The people who flew those planes into the 9/11, most of them were employed. They were not unsuccessful. So when you're at the OSCE and everything's about underlying causes in the West is buzzword for a support program. A deprivation issue where they need roads, they need Coca-Cola factories, they need to have built production at homes. But it turns out that it's where you have money and education that you have the greatest recruitment. And the recruitment is most intense among the best educated. Okay? So the whole model, the whole underlying causes, which is economic deprivation models, which then you can allocate money to a program and not ever have to think, is actually the exact opposite. So here you have the U.S. Navy building homes in Afghanistan in places where nobody will ever live, don't want to live, okay? Well, I'll stop there, because go ahead. So here we have Tariq Ramadan. Anybody here ever heard of Tariq Ramadan?
Yeah.
Okay, Tariq Ramadan is the grandson of
Hassan al-Banna.
Hassan al-Banna. Who is Hassan al-Banna? Founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. He lives, I believe, in Switzerland. That's his home base, is it not? Geneva. But he gets to America all the time. In fact, in 2011, he was in Dallas. And he was at an ICNA, Muslim American Society function. And what did he say? Go ahead. Here's the YouTube. We should be very careful not to be colonized by something which is coming from this consumer society. It should be us with our understanding of Islam, our principles, colonizing positively the United States of America.
That's pretty
Go ahead.
bad.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is short.
So then, in 2012, he's at the MAS ICNA dinner again. So there is something which is a psychological war that we're witnessing everywhere for years. I thought it was only in Europe. In fact, it's not. For the last 5 years, what you are witnessing in this country is very dangerous. The Tea Party, I gave this to some Tea Party people. The Tea Party, or the conservatives, they are playing on a very, very subtle ground. So what did I use this for? It's a long speech and he says a lot of things, but you have to know what you're reading. And you have to know that what they're saying is projected off of a common understanding of Islamic law. Okay? What is he saying? Well, they're targeting conservatives in America. And he says that at a council where he's saying this in English. Go ahead. So, go ahead.
It's a threat.
Go ahead. So, here I have only a coalition of Marxists and Islamists can destroy the United States. That's by Carlos Ramirez, a.k.a. Carlos the Jackal. And what we have found is there was a whole lot of stuff going on between like Hezbollah and head of Venezuela. Hugo Chavez. A lot of stuff going on. And when you go to talk to people at a certain level, they say, problem? What problem? Go ahead. You have all the people doing this stuff, whether the FBI on the ground, whether it's people doing security on the border. There's like, what's going on here? And but it moves up to the policy level, and they're saying, what problem? Go ahead. So we're going to get into this question of the interfaith dialogue. Everything I've said so far is just by way of entree to the interfaith dialogue, because you have to understand who the Brotherhood is. to understand that when they write this book, and I did leave a couple verses out. I'll go to them afterwards to read to you what that document said about what their plan in America is. And it's a direct lift off of their plan from the Lugano, Switzerland document that was written in 1982. But this interfaith dialogue is about an attack on reason. In fact, the entire postmodern attack, politically correct, if you want to use the word political correctness, what I'm trying to get people to understand is political correctness is not random. It is the enforcement mechanism of a postmodern cultural Marxist narrative that seeks to redefine terms in a hostile way. So what I want to do is the assault on reason. And I give people, because I'm talking to people who haven't had any logic, so I want to take a basic concept of logic that in many logic classes they don't teach because it's so basic it doesn't need to be taught. And I feel I need to teach it to understand this is the point of attack. This is the point of attack. Not from the Brotherhood, but from the left. That in the 1980s, when the Brotherhood said we're going to use the word Islamophobia, and then the OIC adopted the word Islamophobia, okay, they had already assessed that this narrative was going to take down the West. Okay? So, and it's an assault on reason. Go ahead. So, Socrates, it is plain that the same thing won't be willing at the same time to do or suffer opposites with respect to the same parts and in relation to the same thing. Okay? I just want to give quotes to tell you how classical this is. And let me make something very clear. This is the basis of Western thinking. If you go to China, one of the most destructive things that happened when China was being taken over by Europe and America, and was they got them very addicted to drugs, right?
Yeah.
They also put in a new way of thinking, which was non-Chinese, Confucianism. So you don't have to be a Confucian. You don't have to be someone who believes in Confucianism in China to understand the thinking processes of China are based on that. You wipe that out, the Chinese have a hard time thinking. And what you see today is you see China reforming, not the least of which is they're returning to this Confucianism as a way of thinking. And as it becomes reintegrated, they become more self-assured. I'm trying to use this as a bad analogy to reason is the basis of Western thinking, going all the way back to the Greeks. Okay? Christianity integrated into that, because I'm coming from the philosophical point of view here, you could from a theological point come from a different point, reconciled itself with that. If you take reason out of Western thinking, the Western mind collapses. Okay? This is the basic attack. So Aristotle, it is impossible for the same attribute at once to belong and not belong to the same thing and in the same relation. Okay, Augustine, the truth is that which is. Aquinas, the same thing cannot be affirmed and denied at the same time. Go ahead. It is impossible for the we'll just repeat that. Go ahead. So it's the principle of non-contradiction. It's really just a question of apples and oranges. So I want to set this up to talk about what apples and oranges is to go forward here. Go ahead. So if you are an apple, you are an apple. That's the law of definition. If you are an apple, you are not an orange. That's the law of that's the law of the excluded middle. If you are an apple, you are not an apple. That's the law of non-contradiction. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Relativism, postmodernism, social Marxism is to say you could be a man and a woman. You could be Catholic and you can accept Islam philosophically. Okay? You could be someone who believes in what you believe and believe that another belief is every bit as valuable in your mind. Mm-hmm. But if you get yourself to say, I believe, the analogy I like to do is, let's say I'm Catholic, you're Jewish, you're Muslim, you're Buddhist, you belong to a weird snake cult from Africa, and I don't know anything about it, but I know you're one of them. You're important in this discussion because you're the person I know nothing about when I say that what you think is every bit as important as what I say. Because you see, I could talk to a Jew And a Jew, we have a certain basis of agreement or disagreement. I could talk to a Muslim, and there's even but when we finally get to him, so why am I saying this? The classic definition of tolerance, which has been redefined by the left, Alinskyism, the classic definition of tolerance is, I'm Catholic, you're Jewish, you're Muslim, you're Hindu, and you belong to some religion I know nothing about. The classic definition of tolerance is, I believe that you have a right to practice your religion, and you have a right to expect that I'll give you the right to practice your religion. But I don't have to accept what you believe, because in fact I don't believe. In fact, I don't believe. I'm only saying, huh?
Neither appreciate.
And I don't have to appreciate it. I just, okay, the Alinskyist, the cultural Marxist redefinition of tolerance is this. You know, I believe what you believe is every bit as valuable as what I believe. And you see what happens there is you're negating your own belief. Because your belief is only as valuable as something you don't even know about. You think you're saying to affirm him, but actually the goal is to deny you. Okay? See how that works? And the same thing works in the context of tolerating other societies. Well, of course, if you go to Spain, you should tolerate the Spaniards. But if you go to Spain and you're not a tourist, you want to live there, at some point you have to make a decision to become Spanish. Or get out. And more importantly, the Spanish have a right to say, hey, you're welcome. And if you want to stay, you could become a Spanish citizen. But you don't have a right to come and say, hey, I want to move in Spain, I want to have my laws in my country. See, this is the attack. And please understand, this attack is being grafted on by the OIC. But it's one that's infrequent, the destruction of nationality. The destruction of your right to have an identity. Okay? It's an
We
attack
had
on
that
identity.
yesterday too, if you remember.
Absolutely.
That was complete destruction.
There was
So-
a lot of that.
Yes.
So go ahead. Go ahead. So the concept of it's the law of non-contradiction. Go ahead. Let's just fill this out. Regarding extreme relativism.
Sorry. Can I read it?
Go ahead. So, and I think we've already done this.
Okay.
The philosophy of being and existence. We're just talking about ontological reason. Go ahead. The tyranny of when apples equal. We're talking today. I made this because I first gave this to a group of conservative Catholics in America. And at the time, Pope Benedict used the phrase extreme relativism. Okay? And so, it's the tyranny of when apples equal oranges. And holding you and sending you to jail. Back in the time of Orwell, in his book 1984, remember, it's being interrogated. 1 + 1 = 5. And you're not going out, you're not getting out of here until you say 1 + 1 = 5. That's this. That's what you're seeing being implemented. Go ahead. So, go ahead. I think I beat this to death. So, we're talking about the death of discernment, the total destruction of discernment. And what I want to do is I'm going to introduce something from my experience in Montgomery County, and I will challenge you. I already know it's true because I just went to the CIIC, the Abdulaziz Center here, and I was with Henrik here, and we realized we were talking to someone who had simply not the ability to discern what they were doing. They were Austrian citizens. And it would be no different if the same facility were in America, or if it were in Copenhagen. It's what has, if I talk to Americans who are like in their 40s or 50s, I say, do you ever notice how you raise your kids and they all hate you? And, yeah, what's that all about? And everybody kind of laughs. I said, well, what do you think happened in those schools that happened? Well, go ahead. So I want to use an example from Maryland, where I live. It's called, the interfaith group there is called Action in Montgomery County. Go ahead. And here it is. This is the interfaith movement group inside Montgomery County. Go ahead. And they say AIM's sister IAF affinities in Maryland. And you see, I think I have it blow up, but all the emails are IAF. Here's Voices Virginia, Voice IAF Virginia. You see how they all have IAF in their email? Now, I know you know what IAF is, because she already told you, but we'll get to it. Okay? So, what happened?
Whoops, I don't know, I didn't touch it, I'm sorry.
We'll just catch up. Let's get back there. So, go ahead. So, what is Industrial Areas Foundation? Go ahead.
Bingo.
Industrial Areas Foundation. Keep going. Here they are, IAF. We could go to, go ahead. We could go to Wikipedia. Go ahead. It's a national community organizing network established by Saul Alinsky in 1940. So what do we know? We know that religious groups are oriented an interfaith entity created by a man who is a so-cultural Marxist, whose book is dedicated to
The devil.
Lucifer.
Lucifer.
Now, if I'm if I go to a church group and brief this, I say, do you know, this is the point where we should end the brief because nothing more need be said. If you're in a church group and you actually have faith. But of course, we never stop there. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. So, huh?
No, it's just,
There are people here who know the organization's equivalent here, and they just have to connect it. Okay, go ahead. Because, so here we have a page here, and here are all the churches in Montgomery County that participate. And I gave this, and they're all, here you have a synagogue, here you have Seventh-day Adventists, here you have Anglicans, here you have Presbyterians. I don't know what these are, but they are. And of course, the Catholic Church is in there too. So, when I gave this to a Anglican church group, because I don't usually do churches, I do government stuff, but they asked me to come in, and this brief is actually kind of popular. You will literally see them shift in their chairs. You literally see, and then when you pop it up, they just start swearing. They just. It's in English, it's the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Does anybody know what that means, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot? W-T. So, go ahead. You know Whiskey Tango Foxtrot? WTF, what the?
yeah.
So, here we go, keep going. Keep going. So here we have a name. But what books do they want you to read? Keep going. IA books that are recommended. Go ahead. Keep going. We just slide right through here. Rules for Radicals. Rules for Radicals. Go ahead. By church groups. There it is. And there it is. There's the dedication. Everybody, I make my slides like this because they're so controversial. I used to just key the stuff in and people said, you made that up. And I actually took the effort of having to photograph off the pages and then putting the pages in and I would lift the quotes because it's like, I will never have to prove, I will always prove that everything I say is in context. They say, oh, it's out of context. And, so in the States, I literally bring, if I'm going to go brief a major government entity, I bring a suitcase full of books. So there it is right there. Go ahead. So this thing reflects that you could be an apple, an orange, or even not an apple. Keep going. So now we're going into the interfaith part of it because I just want, I want to raise some stuff. Anyone, and you have your Bible, so you can read it. So it's just. So you say, anyone who will not listen to my words, which the prophets speak in my name, I myself will hold accountable for it. I have not commanded or speak in the name of other gods, the prophets shall die. So I kind of like this because it says, Elijah approached all the people and said, how long will you straddle the issue? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal, follow him. But the people did not answer him. Now, I'm not saying groups like the Vatican are going to come out and say that they recognize Allah as God. But I will tell you, they severely flirt with that issue. severely do. And well, it was the bishops, and Benedict was pushing that back.
I have it in German.
Okay, just do about 1 Kings 8:22.
Oh.